What to do? This is the Brothers on Books podcast where we find great books that will give you real value and actionable steps and have fun in the process. Please reach out to us at brothersonbooks@gmail.com for any book recommendation or if you would like to be a guest host for a particular book you have in mind. A great review or rating on whichever platform you're listening to would be greatly appreciated. Lastly, if you can think of any friend, family member, or coworker that might like this episode, please pass it along. If it's a dark and stormy night and you need a drink to warm the depths of your hearts, we at the Brothers on Books go with Ensha Matcha, the best matcha for the best brothers. And now our listeners will get 10% off when they use the link or coupon code in the show notes when they're checking out. I'm Alex Alwell, and with me as always is my brother Jack. Jack, how you doing?
Great, per usual, Al. Another morning that we get to discuss a book.
That's
How is it
right.
going there?
You know, pretty good. Per usual, I was not per usual, but I guess per unusual, I was running a little behind in finishing this, so I've been up for quite a bit finishing. Uh,
Wait, you woke up this morning to finish?
I did, yes.
Wow, okay. Because it was 6:30 your time, so well,
Yeah,
how early did you get up?
I got up at 4:30.
Okay,
I had like 50
okay,
more pages. I was
okay,
tired last night.
okay.
So I guess with that said, the book we are doing is Mind Mapping by Kam Knight. Improve memory, concentration, communication, organization, creativity, and time management. So I guess just to start, I picked this book.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and why did I pick this book? I picked this book because I thought it would improve memory, concentration, communication, organization, creativity, and time management.
So here's a question. Do you think it actually helped give tools for improving memory?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I think it lays a general framework for how you can improve those things. I sort of thought it was going to be uh, it's much more. I guess I didn't really look into what this was going to see. I just saw these buzzwords and then I picked it. I thought it was going to be much more about how to essentially organize things in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
like on the fly, like how to, process information as you're reading it and then like internalize it in your mind and improve all those things that way. But to me, this is more about like note taking, like how to organize your thoughts on like a physical like surface, either through a computer or like just generally like when you're making notes or making lists, and then improving all those buzzwords that way.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what were your thoughts?
I thought he made a good point that humans are very good at coming up with ideas, but are poor at organizing the ideas. And that's what a mind map helps. You know, you have the central idea in the middle, and then you have all these branches coming off the central circle, talking about the subtopics or whatever you're trying to come up with. One thing I actually started.
Well, hold up, real quick. Yeah, I mean, you just want to generally lay out what making a mind map is. I mean, I guess you just sort of said it, but
So for an example, like I was like after going through this, I was brainstorming like a financial independence book. So I had financial independence in the middle, and then some of the things that I had branching off from financial independence is education. And then, like, off of that education bubble, I had things like taxes, what is money, macro trends, um, annuitization tables and interest. And then so that those were all coming off of like education. And then there was a couple even smaller ones that you could drill down on. And then some other ones were like work coming off of financial independence. So you gotta work in some way, whether it's like passive or active or and then I had a branch like the vehicles to get there. And then I wrote I was just like this is like brainstorming. So just anything that came to my mind. So I had like options, royalties, bonds, stocks, rentals. Um, I guess that was, yeah. And then I have a bubble for savings, whether it's in like, our whole life policies or gold or a high yield savings account or Bitcoin. Then I have one for budgeting, but it's basically, it's a more, and I don't know if, it's like a more, I think, it's easier actually to understand than just a straight outline. And I can't really describe why, but I remember when I was going through the process, and I probably have done this, I just hadn't done it in a really long time. But like I had the same feeling from the X3 actually, which is bizarre. But like when we read the book Weightlifting is a Waste of Time, that this apparatus that this guy made, I had the feeling like, how does this not exist, or how have I not done this before? And I was kind of having the same feeling doing like these mind mapping things where I'm like, this feels more intuitive than what I'm accustomed to, but why haven't we been doing that? And the only place I really remember doing like these bubbles like this, I would say, are like sometimes in like flow charts. I kind of thought it was similar for like work processes,
Yeah.
which
So
what does help. And then like also when he was going through the parts of like a fiction story. And I remember doing that in first grade where you're talking about like the characters, the plot, the theme, those types of things. And I remember bubbles. But other than that, I very vividly remember one of my teachers telling me I wasn't great at outlining. And they made a point, I think, to um, single me out because they knew dad. And they're like, your dad's a lawyer. Shouldn't you be better at outlining? So yeah, that's sorry. Yeah.
no, yeah, I mean, I think it's a great way. I think it is a great way to organize information. I think it's easier to uh I thought the main takeaway was, or the main benefit is that it is easier to take the information away after you have it down. I
Hmm.
think it's just easier to digest. So like,
Hmm.
yeah, generally like you said with financial independence, you have your central idea in the middle, and then you have branches coming off of it to all like the subtopics. And then each subtopic can have further branches that are, related to it going off for more like details and ideas. And you can just get down into like details further just going off of these branches. Where if you were to, because like you brought up flowcharts, he talks about flowcharts at the end of the book. A lot of times flowcharts are how I kind of, uh, hi- I mean, flowcharts are a lot of times how I kind of outline my day, like because it's very, I mean, maybe flowchart's not the best, but it's like at the end of every day, like my work is very linear. Like I have to do A before B.
Hmm.
So I always like start with like, okay, what are like the first five things I want to do that are all independent of each other? And
Hmm.
then I like from there, like you flow into, the next, like subtopic. I guess if the first thing I'm doing is like A, then like A prime would be like the second thing I'm doing with regards to A. So that's
Okay.
normally how I lay out my days,
That's
I would
kind of
say.
interesting. Is that like a
Right.
chemist thing?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a chemist thing, but it's just a me thing. Like,
Do you put them in bubbles?
no, I just draw lines. It's
Ah, okay.
like at the end of every day, I just sit down at my desk and I'm like, all right, like what are the things that I want to do tomorrow? And then like I list out the first couple things I want to do. And then like, well, after I do this, like this material can, go into this next step. So it's like, how do I take it forward? So
Hmm.
it flows. So in that regard, I think he says mind maps are not great for that type of organization. But like what you were saying, like when you're just talking about one idea, or a central topic, I think they are good because I think it just allows you to organize the material uh, on like almost a single sheet of paper so you can take it
Yeah.
all in. I don't know if, I mean, even if you go back and look at what you just drew, if you were to write all of that out as a linear outline, that would probably be like 3 or 4 pages,
Hmm.
right? And then I don't know if you remember from like standardized tests. I remember this from the MCAT. Like I felt like they would always have the questions on another page. So like you would only be able to look at the questions and not look at the questions when you're able to look at the text for like the reading passages. And I just remember thinking, this is so annoying that I have to read the question and then flip back and try
Hmm.
and find what they're talking about in the passage. It makes it I just personally think makes it way more difficult versus if you're
Hmm.
just able to see all the information on one page, I think it's way easier to digest, which I think this does do a good job of, allowing that in terms of like note taking.
Yeah. I thought I mean, for brainstorm like this, I did in like 5 minutes. And like, I feel like I almost have like the parts of a book if I wanted to like make it. So that's kind of cool. I would, well, so I think my one critique of the book was I didn't think is it a he or a she?
I think it's a man. He's Indian.
Um, um, I don't know if they really got into like how it would improve memory because I don't think it really helps me improve memory, but I do think it helps organize your thoughts because I mean the one book I thought that actually helped improve memory was a book called The Moonwalking with Einstein, and there's more like visuals to help. Like for example, like I think when Kam Knight was going through a mind map of like a grocery list, it's still just like words on a page. And like in Moonwalking with Einstein, the way you would like memorize a shopping list is you would like if you had salmon, for example, let's say you had salmon and honey. So like he calls it like a memory pal, and this is I'd really recommend this book because this guy was like a memory champion. Um, so he has these things called memory palaces where you're visualizing like a structure that you go to a lot, and like as you're going into the structure, you're seeing items basically that are on your list. So like if you had like let's say honey and salmon, like you might like walk into your front entrance of your house and you might see like a salmon dancing and like pouring honey on itself. But like it's some sort of visual and you can like keep walking through the rooms of your memory palace, and that's how a lot of these memory champions do it. But so I guess that would be the one thing, like the one I guess critique of this versus like a system like that.
So
Like
I kind of felt like the way okay. So like I don't necessarily know if it improves your memory, but I think the benefit is by having the information more organized, I think you are more likely to remember it. Is like
no, that's probably true.
so like the way because for I mean there was a whole chapter on like lists and he has that
Hmm.
subsection on like shopping lists.
Yeah.
And when I was reading through that, I was like, man, this sounds like this would take way more time than normally. But he's like uh segregating like it's like your central premise is shopping, and then it's like, okay, grocery shopping, and then like what do I need for grocery shopping? And then it's like, like in terms of food, and then it's like supplies, and then it's like car, like, but it's like just segregating every like little niche thing that you could need and
Hmm.
then like laying it all out. So I think in terms of if you're actually going through a store, it would probably be more efficient.
Hmm.
It's like oftentimes I feel like even when I shop, I'm like, oh, like, I need blah, blah, I need like milk and, eggs and vegetables. But like I find myself walking like back and forth in the store because
Hmm.
I remember that so a lot of times, yet again, I'll write that linearly if I write a list at all.
Uh-huh.
And like I'll have like lettuce, like the top, and then I'll have like milk, so I'll go get the milk. But then, at some point I also wanted apples, and then you'll come back. I'll just end up walking back and getting apples,
Okay.
or anything, or something for my car. It's like they're all on opposite sides of the store. So I think it could be just a better way of organizing the material, and I think having the material better organized helps you remember it.
Yeah.
I think that's the main takeaway.
Okay. Yeah, I really like this stuff for, I would say, the brainstorming and the planning. And I guess I didn't really bring
Right.
up the planning. I like how so he's got like whatever you're trying to plan, and then like a who, what, where, when, why type of framework. And I thought that was like perfect, honestly, because he went through an example of planning a wedding, and you just go one by one. So like the who, so like who are we talking about when we're planning a wedding? Well, we're talking about like the guests. So you need like a guest list, and then on, I guess, the actual wedding itself, you need like maybe a DJ or a band, and then you can just keep going down and drilling and thinking about who you need to contact or hire. And then, when, so when is the wedding going to be? What time? When is, and when is the reception, the ceremony, and the pictures and all of that. And I do like it for organizing thoughts for sure. I'm definitely going to start doing this over just straight outlines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the other good, I mean, you brought up brainstorming. I thought brainstorming was a good idea. Just like essentially brain vomiting on a sheet of paper, everything, all of your thoughts,
Hmm.
and then go through the process of organizing them. Because I feel like he brings up a lot of times when I would make outlines, I would do this is like I would try and essentially organize the outline in my mind and then write it down like linearly.
Hmm.
And then, but if you then want to like, put something ahead of something else, you essentially have to rewrite the entire outline,
Yeah.
which is just annoying.
No,
So
that's a good point. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
right. So this way with making a mind map, you can just add another, if you have another topic you want, you can just add another branch, and it's way easier. It's way easier to add on to the map versus like a linear outline.
Hmm. True.
I mean, I think this would be, I don't know if this is, I feel like every time I talk to like, I mean, I don't talk to high school students a lot, but I feel like when I interact with students and kids, the way they tell me they're doing things in school now always seems bizarre to me, especially with math. So I would be interested if this concept was being taught in schools. I would guess the answer is no.
You mean mind maps?
Yeah.
I'd never. I mean, like I said, the only place I remembered seeing that was like for fictional stories. Um,
Right.
but
Well, that's
uh-huh.
what I'm saying is I think it would be good. I think it would be very
Oh, oh,
beneficial. I think it would be very beneficial for students.
I see. Yeah.
Like in even like in taking notes and like how to prepare for tests, like I think it would be very beneficial.
Hmm.
Probably more so in uh I would say more so maybe in like the social sciences or just like the arts of like how to organize, high like knowledge based uh classes, not so much like the problem solving classes. I don't think it would be as beneficial. Like I don't think taking chemistry notes like this would be that beneficial. I would say the same for
Hmm.
math. It's like how would you like, if the topic is like doing an integral, like how would you show the math in a mind like
Hmm.
how would you
Well,
take notes for doing an integral in this?
yeah, I guess because the thing in math is a lot of times the next step really depends on the prior step. So,
Right,
so
it's more
math, it's like you kind of want it more like
yeah,
line by line.
it's
Whereas,
more it's more flow.
yeah,
Right.
where these
But like
mind maps.
like if you had to write like a history paper or a research paper on something, I think this would be very beneficial.
Yeah. And I think on the research side, I thought he did a good job. And you can have like multiple mind maps when you're going through something. So like if you're researching, he brought up the point, like you could have like a mind map for like sources. So you could have like, encyclopedias or
Yeah.
websites or podcasts. So that's like you're like, how am I going to get the information? And like so you can brainstorm the sources, and then you can do another mind map for the actual topics that you're going to cover once you get all of the information.
Very, very true.
So um um I mean
Do you have any?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, did you have anything else, really?
Not too much. I mean, he did bring up goal setting once again. Um, but he didn't really show like a mind map of like what the goals would look like in that type of framework. But um, he did bring up the point once again that if you write down your goals, you're more likely to hit them.
Yeah, and to make smart
So
goals.
smart goals, right?
Yeah.
Specific, measurable.
Measurable, signable, realistic, and with a time constraint.
Yep. So, and then I guess you would have branches for each of those, you're saying, but he didn't. Um, so that would be, so I guess for every single goal, you would have like a little web.
Yeah.
So that I could, I don't know I, that would probably still be good. I'm actually going through like a goal setting thing with some people I flip laned with.
Okay.
So I was thinking of maybe trying to do more of that.
Yeah,
Um,
actually, as I was reading this, I was thinking about back in my Nashville house, that was when I read Think and Grow Rich. And
uh-huh.
Napoleon Hill has the part where he says you should with emotion like state all of your goals every morning.
Hmm.
And I had my sheet taped to my wall, my door. So
Yeah.
like I would do it every morning. And I left my goal sheet taped to my door in my house. So I was thinking about maybe making another goal sheet with this in mind, doing
Okay.
it this way.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a relatively short book. I think it's sort of a harder book, I would say, to talk about than I think it is beneficial to read. I think like I said, I think this is a great way to organize material. Uh, instead of just linear note taking, which is how I definitely used to take notes. After reading some of his maps, I felt like they presented the material in a much more clear and efficient manner than like my notes would have. I mean, for some classes, like I said, like for chemistry classes, like I don't think this would really work that well. I mean, that's obviously what I'm the most comfortable with, or the
Mhm.
most experienced with talking about. Uh, yeah, I mean, I guess those are my thoughts. I don't know, Jake, do you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
No, I think I definitely will implement this more. I was actually even yes, no, 2 days ago, I had a problem come up that this guy that was gonna buy land from me kind of sounded like he was backing out and proposing a new deal now that I had already prepared all the documents. So I actually wrote that problem in the middle of the page and was like writing down everything that I thought I could do. And some like I mean I was saying things like, I can just be firm. I could propose because he basically wanted to pay me over like 3 months instead of all at once. And but I had lowered the price significantly because he said he was going to pay me all at once. So he was trying to get the better price, but spread it out over 3 months. So then I was like, well, I could have him pay me 3 times, but like a higher price, um, or just stay firm. But like, and I was writing some other like details, I guess, but it does help. it does help to problem solve and get your thoughts down. I think the best way, I think I really liked how he summarized it, is that people are good at coming up with ideas but bad at organizing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I think, yeah, once you kind of have it on the page, and it doesn't have to be an outline. So I like this. I like the mind maps.
Okay, good.
So should I take us out?
Take us out. I guess with that said, Jack, what book are we doing next?
I believe we are doing the book Hidden Potential by Adam Grant. The Science of Achieving Greater Things. This was the book that I started reading in Barnes & Noble, read like 30 pages, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta pick this. So it'll be an interesting read. I mean, I think they go through a lot of people that achieved pretty remarkable things later in their lives. So we're talking like people that learn languages in like, or multiple languages in their 30s and 40s, 50s, and acquired interesting skills. So with that, please reach out to us at brothersonbooks@gmail.com for any book recommendations, or if you would like to be a guest host for a particular book you have in mind. A great review or rating on whichever platform you're listening to this would be greatly appreciated. And lastly, if you can think of any friend, family member, or coworker that might like this episode, please pass it along. For the original episodes, the OGs, please visit brothersonbooks.com. I am Jack Allweil, and with me, as always, is my brother Alex Allweil. Al, until next time.
Till next time, Jacob boy.